Clarence Gooey Lapp was the left guard and anchor of the LeRoy High School football teams of 1923 and 24, which compiled 14 wins, 13 were shutouts. It was during these years in high school that LeRoy truly became a football town. The first game of the 24 season, Rust Clothiers promised the team that if they shut out Webster, they'd all be given a new pair of socks. After a 39-0 victory over Webster, the LeRoy Gazette reported that the entire team arrived at school with new socks. Not to be outdone, Jim Thomas of Fountain Shop challenged the team that if they shut out Fairport, he'd give them all free soda. LeRoy handed Fairport a 20-0 loss. The Lapp line defeated East Aurora by the same score. By the time LeRoy traveled to Batavia, the team had outscored its opponents 178-24. And probably should have been considered professionals at that point because of the socks and the soda. A special train with 427 fans traveled on the Erie Railroad to Batavia for the rivalry game. They were met by the mayor, school officials, and hundreds of other LeRoy fans who had motored to the game. They marched in unison to the field under a banner which said, "Batavia, we are here." On the first running play of the game, Batavia star running back and later Supreme Court Judge Bob Noonan hit the left side of the LeRoy line, anchored by Gooey Lapp, and was taken out for the rest of the game after a clean but very vicious hit. That LeRoy line was again too much as they shut out Batavia 18-0. The Batavia Daily estimated the crowd at 3,500 and said that the cleanly and cleverly played game was a high-water mark in Genesee County sporting events. Gooey Lapp was named captain his senior year for that 1925 team. The Gazette News expressed the fear that moving that star lineman to fullback would materially weaken the line play. That did not prove to be the case. In the first game, LeRoy beat St. Joe's of Buffalo 13-0, with Lapp's presence greatly strengthening the backfield without weakening the line. Gooey is also captain and an outstanding catcher of the LeRoy baseball team. He was a starter in basketball. After high school, Gooey caught for the Western New York champion LeRoy Athletics. In 1930, he and a group of friends started the All-LeRoy football semi-pro football team, which lasted into the mid-60s. He played a decade for this team as their star fullback, linebacker, and also kicker. Gooey was a man who loved his hometown and was considered by many as LeRoy's patriarch. He was a member and president of the LeRoy Central School Board. He was the first Genesee County legislator to represent LeRoy. He and his brother-in-law, Hank Zimmerman, organized LeRoy Little League Baseball, resulting in the very first season back in 1952. He was a LeRoy fireman and president of the Hooks Fire Company. He was a Grand Knight of the Knights of Columbus and president of the Lapp Lumber Company. He was also honored as the second LeRoyan of the year. Accepting this Hall of Fame award for Gooey Lapp is his widow, Kate Zimmerman Lapp, of the LeRoy class of 1933, and his grandson, Jim Wujcik, Wyoming County Attorney, will speak for the family.
Thanks, Rich. My grandmother just gave me a few brief comments to say. First of all, thank you to the board for inducting our grandfather, and also congratulations to the fellow inductees. My grandfather always felt that he had a duty and an obligation to his community, and that's why it really came from when he was born, and he was too young to go serve in World War I and deemed too old to serve in World War II, so he knew he had to give back to the community. And that often emanated itself in, like Rich said, whether it be Little League or public office. And he was an outstanding leader to all of us, not just a fine man, just gets a little nerve-wracking, and a good father and a good grandfather, but also a good example to all of us. So our family has had a very good time putting together all these pictures and newspaper articles for this, and I just want to thank everybody on behalf of my grandmother. I just want to tell the board, when we told her about this, she kind of said, okay, well, what's this whole thing about? And then she said, well, what do they do for it? And when Reed sent her the letter, she kind of perked up, and we asked her if she wanted to go, and she said, of course I'll be there for him. Just like she was for their whole marriage and for all of us. So it's an honor to be up here to speak for the family. There's a lot of us here today. There was one condition with Grandma being here, since she is almost 99. She said if she does come here, she wants to go out for lunch and get some soup. So if you see her getting out of here a little bit early, it's not a slight for anybody up here. She just wants to go get some lunch. So, thanks again.